So now let's take a look at 5. So I'm going to zoom in on 5. I'm going to start with the linear dimensions. Now on this one, what I want to dimension here on this, I'm going to dimension information in the top and the front view. Now, I got sidetracked. Does anybody notice that this line is darker than this line? We previously talked about widths. This line right here, notice that it's a polyline and it has a global width of 0.02. This one is a polyline and, or I'm sorry, these are two lines. So this should actually have a global width of 0. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was like, why is that darker? Okay, back to dimensioning. So when we dimension, if we wanted to dimension this object, we typically dimension circles and arcs in the view. We wouldn't dimension them over here and we wouldn't dimension them here unless it was a stacked view of circles as in cylinders. Now in this, the hidden line here we can't dimension to, so we have to dimension it down here. So I'm going to go turn my O-snaps on and I'm going to dimension it here. Alright, now I've already got, I can see that I'm going to need more room, so I'm going to go ahead and push this up, F8, and I'm going to come up 1. And I'm going to move this one over 1 to give me more room. Now, so I have to dimension here, but on this one, to locate that center of that circle, it's a distance, so I have to measure to here. Okay, and the circles themselves, I would dimension the radius here, and I would dimension a diameter here. Now the heights and stuff to get these sizes, I wouldn't dimension them over here at all. I would dimension them 1 here, and I like these in the center. Sometimes when your snaps, this is what happens when your snaps are all on. So I just turned my snaps off. I hit F3 on my keyboard to get the snaps off, and I'm going to turn my ortho off. I want them stacked in the center. I could go ahead and say continuous or baseline. I'm going to use baseline from the last point to turn my snaps back on, F3, here to here. Okay, that's an option, but that's a little cluttered. So let's take a look at doing it this way. We do linear from here to here, set that, turn my ortho off and my O-snaps off, and then we're going to do another linear from snaps back on, O-snaps, here to here, and bring that in between here. Here is the problem with this. See how it's stacked up like that? So on these, you've got options that, let me collapse this. Instead of doing them all at once, sometimes I'll do this. In the fit area, see how it says fit? And my properties, make sure your properties are on, PR for properties, to get this property palette. In this one, in this fit area, see how it says keep dim line with text? You can change it to add a leader, okay? So then you can pull this out. Or I'm going to show you a different style here. You can say add no leader, and you can actually pull it right next to it. I like to have these organized like this. So I'm going to change that to no leader and just pull these right next to it. It makes it look a little bit nicer. And then I'm going to do one linear all the way from here to here, and then pull it out to here. So you may need all of this, you know, scooched over a little bit more. Also, sometimes when you have it, you can actually pull this up and stack it up here to make it a little bit more clean looking. All right. Now the next one that we're looking at here Notice there's no top view. In this one, I'm actually going to move this over. I'm not going to do diameters here. I'm going to move this over. And I'm going to move this. Make sure your ortho's on so it's all the way over. And I'm going to move it over too. Okay. Now, you could do diameters here, but I've also seen it done this direction, like this. So these two are actually diameters. If I double click on the inside, see how it's purple? I can go and I can zoom in so you can see it a little easier. I can go home, so see the blinking cursor here? I can come up here and go symbol, and I can do a diameter symbol. Same thing with here. Click on it or double click to access it. Make sure the blinking cursor is at the beginning. Hit your home, the home key. Change that and put diameter. Okay, that's one option instead of doing, you know, the diameter on the circle. Okay, the only bad thing is, see how this looks? It might be better to put it on this side. Okay, when it does like this, it looks like it's part of the object, especially if the information if the color scheme doesn't pop. And because all of ours are white, it's all the same line weight. We would do a linear here, and we would do another one from here to here. Notice that we're not doing this one because of the chain of error. Like if we said from here to here and snapped it here, typically you always leave one out because of tolerancing. Okay, now this object here is a drill depth with basically the countersink, but it doesn't go all the way through. This is drilled to a certain depth. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to take these off and I'm going to dimension them on this side. So your option is to do a diameter here. This is the outside diameter of this big object. Do a diameter of the inside object, and then do another diameter here. Okay, now on this one, what you have is this one, but the depth of this, and I'm just going to have to measure it, the depth of this is going to be down 2. You don't actually count this little tip on it. So on this one, you have a diameter of 1, and I'm going to hit end to go to this end, and you're going to put a symbol. You're going to drag this down and go other. Give it a second. And now I'm going to go to GDT, and there's multiple ones. Okay, you can just hit the basic one, and you're going to use this symbol here. That is a depth symbol, so you're going to select that. You're going to highlight it and go copy, and then come over here and go Control V for paste, and then you're going to type in 2.00. Now this is the problem, is the different types of text. That looks horrible. The text type that we have is going to be, if we look at the standard, if we look at what standard is, I just clicked this little arrowhead here. Standard is Arial. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to highlight that text here, and I'm going to change, highlight that. I'm going to change that to Arial. Scroll, 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 Arial. And the height that it is, remember what we said, is we wanted, when it scales down, we wanted that height here. I can highlight this little area here, go 0.32. Okay? So everything is the same. Now you want to put a little bit of space between it. You could even bold, no, you can't bold that. Oops. Okay, so it's going to be a little lighter. And yes. Actually, I like that with less distance between the two. Alright, so it's going to look like that. Basically, it says this diameter is 1 and there is a drill depth of 2 inches. Okay? You can have that stacked up here. Oops, ortho off, F8, and have it stacked up here. Okay? Alright, I'm going to pause here. Okay, I keep saying that, but then I say go back and print. So let's go ahead and go back to our plot. And on this one, I'm going to get rid of these two, and I'm going to keep these two. But on this, I'm going to unlock these two views, move this over. I'm going to make this bigger because I want the next ones, double click on the inside, pan. I'm going to change that to 1 to 2. Double click. See if I can get both of these at 1 to 2 in there. Let me move this out of, actually I'm just going to delete that. And move this over. My O snaps are on. Let's get that out of the way. And move this up. It might not fit. But since that one's only, actually, let me move this down. And I'm going to copy this, CO for copy. Double click on the inside and pan, P or PAN. And pull this over. Now I'm going to go back to layout. I should move this back a little bit. So I'm going to move this, F8. I'm going to move it back 0.5. Go back to my layout. Move this over here. Zoom in on this. I'm just using my scroll button. Center mouse scroll. Move this down. And I was hoping it would fit, but apparently no. It might if I don't show that number 5. And I push this here. Now take the time when you're doing these, because it's going to be, you know, by practicing this you'll get better at what looks good. I'm going to make this smaller. Now there's no, I'm not telling you distances or whatever. It's just once you grip it, you'll be able to see what it is. Okay. Again, remember you can't see this orange. Now I can actually come into this one. The nice thing about viewports are, I'm going to go ahead and lock both of these, highlight them, and then lock them down here. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to double click on the inside of this, and I can actually create a window around this and type in M for move, and I can pull this straight down. Make sure your ortho's on because they have to be aligned. So ortho is on, and just bring this down a little bit like that. Double click on the outside, bring this down like that. Okay, and then we can just take a piece of text. I'm going to change that 1 to 2 first. We could take this piece of text, control copy, and we can say capital letters, object 5, and we can copy this one and say object 6. Okay, and then dimension object 5-6 ZA, and now we're going to print this one. Print, since it's all set up, preview, and there we have it. Okay, notice that I would have had my text height the same just to make it look good, and cancel that. So the height of the text here, since remember we are now at a 1 to 2 scale, it's 0.16. That's actually bigger than what we really want it to be, but I'm not going to worry about it. going to come over here on our text, and I can actually just type in 0.16. And same with this one. Okay, click on that and go 0.16 in the text height. If this is collapsed, just make sure it's not and type in 0.16 and move it over. And the reason it's too big is because our scale is set. That's why annotative would have been good. It would have automatically adjusted that for us. So print that, preview, and then go OK. And now this is dimension objects 5-6. And close and save. You should save throughout your projects just in case. I'm going to stop here and then we'll take a look at a few more.